In this video, we're going to talk about something called the kinetic molecular theory. And essentially, this is a theory that describes in a simple microscopic model how ideal gases behave. So with these particular behaviors, there are 5 postulates that we use to help describe why gases act a particular way and why we call those ideal behaviors. So those 5 postulates are the following. Number 1, the first postulate says that gases are molecules in continuous motion traveling in a straight line. So essentially, a gas molecule can only travel in a straight line. It is constantly moving. The only thing that can change that trajectory of movement is when it collides with something else. So it could be another gas molecule, or it could be the inside wall of the container. Either way, things are still traveling in straight lines, so there's no curvature to that motion. The second postulate states that gas molecules are negligible in size or negligibly small, which means that the gas molecule's volume does not take up volume of the container. So all of the gas molecules have the capability to be in the entire volume or space of the container without having to worry about any other gas molecule taking up that space. So negligibly small. The third postulate says that the pressure exerted by a gas in a container is a result of the collisions of that gas with the container wall. So the amount of times that a gas molecule on average hits the inside container of a wall will proportionally dictate the pressure that that container is feeling on the inside. And so one of the things that can affect that is also coming in collisions with other molecules. The temperature can actually affect this pressure. So as the temperature increases, the kinetic energy of those molecules, they start to move much, much faster, and they're going to hit the container of the inside of the wall of that container much in a quicker rate, which then increases the pressure. So this is a pretty important postulate as well. The fourth postulate says that gas molecules exert no attractive or repulsive forces. And this means that, say you have a polar molecule that is a gas, it is going to have a positive and negative partial charges on that molecule, and you have always been taught that positives and negatives attract. Well, in the gas behaviors, in an ideal behavior, the gas molecules are so small and far apart from one another, and they don't spend much time next to one another in ideal conditions. Their attractive and repulsive forces therefore have no effect on one another. And so it doesn't matter if the molecule is polar or nonpolar, those attractive and repulsive forces aren't a viable or a force that actually exerts anything on anything else. Now, the one thing that we need to keep in mind, though, is that anytime a collision does occur with gas molecules, even if they're polar or nonpolar, those are collisions that are elastic, which means that the energy is conserved between those molecules. So you can transfer the energy from one molecule to the next, but you never lose energy from that collision. The last postulate is really important, and we'll bring that this particular aspect up in a later video, is that the average kinetic energy of a gas molecule is proportional to the gas temperature. And so this is one way that we write that equation, saying that anytime the kinetic energy is on average is calculated or measured, it's a direct correlation to the temperature. And if the temperature moves up, the kinetic energy on average will also move up of the gas molecules in that container. And there'll be another way that we write this equation, but we'll see that in a later video. So this has been the kinetic molecular theory and the reasons why Gases act in an ideal behavior, and it's because of these particular features or postulates about gases that we assume about them in those particular conditions.